Do you know what frogging is? Sounds like the name of some innocent children's game, doesn't it? Hopping around like a frog, but in my profession, that word sends a cold shiver down my spine. It's just dry statistics, nothing personal. Studies show that right now, in every 100th large commercial building or private mansion in the US, someone is living there, secretly, in the ventilation, in utility crawl spaces, behind false walls. They eat your food while you sleep. They watch your TVs while you're at work. They breathe the same air as you. The sound of a Monster Energy can opening rang out in the hollow silence like a gunshot. I took a sip, grimacing at the chemical sweetness. My name is Alex, and I work the night shift at Oak Ridge Private School, an elite institution in the suburbs of Washington. Parents pay $40,000 a year for their kids to study in this temple of glass and concrete. It's 3 a.m., winter break. The building has been empty for a week, or that's what my roster says. The job is a slacker's dream. Sit in the booth, stare at a wall of monitors, do a round once an hour. I don't believe in ghosts, poltergeists, or any of that nonsense. I'm only afraid of one thing: dying of boredom. 0100 hours. Time for the first round. Oak Ridge isn't like those old schools in horror movies. No creaky floorboards or gloomy portraits here. It's a high-tech architectural masterpiece. Classroom walls are transparent. The corridors are wide galleries with polished floors. But at night, that works against you. You walk and you see your reflection in 1,000 surfaces. It feels like someone is walking parallel to you, but you turn your head and it's just you distorted by double-paned glass. I was walking through the north wing. The acoustic ceiling tiles swallowed my footsteps. At the end of the hall, near the chemistry lab, a red LED blinked. Motion sensor. I froze, hand resting on my belt where my radio and heavy mag light hung. Damn HVAC, I muttered. The ventilation here is powerful. It moves the air so hard that sometimes the blinds move on their own. I turned into the teacher's lounge to check the coffee machine. Teachers always forget to turn it off. Inside, it didn't smell of chalk and dust, but of something sharp. The smell of cheap, sweet cologne. Strange. The staff here wears perfume that costs more than my car. I looked at the bulletin board. There was a flyer for ALICE safety protocols, standard instructions for an active shooter: alert, lockdown, inform, counter, evacuate. Someone had made an edit on the drill schedule with a black marker, and right over it in bold red was written 2:45. I rubbed the bridge of my nose. Damn pranksters. Probably high school seniors decided to joke around before the break, and the cleaners missed it. Back at the post, I collapsed into my chair and stared at the monitors. Camera 4, the library. A huge hall with book stacks and a reading zone. My heart skipped a beat. In the middle of the central aisle stood a chair. I distinctly remember pushing all the chairs in during my start of shift round. I have a thing about it. Perfect order. I reached for the radio to call my partner, then remembered I'm alone. Reduced staff for the holidays. The radio on the desk suddenly let out a short psh. Static crackle, as if someone pressed the transmit button for a split second and immediately released it. 10-4? I asked mechanically into the void. Silence. I grabbed my flashlight and headed to the library. I had to put that damn chair back. It's just nerves, sleep deprivation, and caffeine. The library was quiet like a crypt. Moonlight spilled through the panoramic windows, casting long shadows from the shelves. The chair was there, defiantly pulled out into the middle. I walked up, grabbed the backrest, and shoved it forcefully under the table. Ding dong. The sound of the school bell cut through the silence, but it was wrong, muffled like it was passed through a bad filter, and it rang from only one speaker directly above my head. Then the PA system came to life. Attention, code red. This is not a drill. Intruder in the perimeter. I recognized that voice. It was my voice.
But I hadn't said anything.
The intonation was mechanical, sliced together from phrases I might have said in phone calls or reports. I backed away, towards the library exit, and my gaze slid through the glass partition down to the gym on the floor below. There, in the corner where the wrestling mats are usually rolled up, something had changed. The mats were laid out. They formed a neat, perfectly tucked nest. Beside it stood a bottle of water and a stack of books. Someone lives here. Not a ghost. A human. I sprinted back to the security room. Screw the protocols, I'm calling the police. Flying into the security fishbowl, I grabbed the phone. There was a dial tone. Thank God. But then I noticed my logbook lying open on the desk. Didn't I close it? I looked at the page. Below my last entry, 0100 perimeter clear, new lines had appeared. The handwriting looked like mine, but sharper, jagged, with heavy pressure tearing through the paper. 0215. Subject deviated from route. 0230. Subject noticed the nest. 0245. Initiating elimination protocol. The clock on the wall showed 0244. My throat went dry. I'm not the guard here. To whoever wrote this, I am the intruder, and he is the one restoring order. I looked up at the wall of monitors. Camera 1, the corridor right outside my door. There was a figure. A man in a security uniform, exactly like mine. Blue shirt, black pants. He stood with his back to the camera, staring at the door behind which I sat. But something was wrong with his head. I squinted at the grainy image. His face was completely, tightly wrapped in gray duct tape. The door handle slowly turned. The lock was engaged, but the mechanism creaked under pressure. "Police! 911! I have a break-in threat to life! Oak Ridge School!" I screamed into the receiver, bracing my foot against the door. The handle jerked methodically. Up, down, up, down. No rage, just frightening mechanical persistence. "Sir, a patrol is 2 minutes away. They were checking a false fire alarm on the next street." In the distance, I heard the wail of sirens, approaching fast. The pressure on the door handle vanished instantly. On the monitor, the corridor was empty. 3 minutes later, the building was filled with flashlight beams and the stomping of heavy boots. Police kicked in the front door. I walked out to them, shaking hands, clutching a soda can. They swept the school. In the basement, in the boiler room, they found a man. A dirty, smelly, homeless guy, about 50. He was high, barely standing, mumbling something incoherent. "We got your ghost, son," an elderly Irishman clapped me on the shoulder. "Climbed in to get warm, found your logs, decided to play games. Junkies, what can you do?" I exhaled. The adrenaline was fading, leaving nausea and a hysterical chuckle. "He wrote in my logbook," I started. "Yeah, we took the log as evidence. Go home, kid. We'll finish the inventory and close the perimeter." The police were leading the homeless man out. I was packing my things. My eyes fell on the arrest report the officer left on the desk for me to sign. The detainee's signature was there. A shaky, weak hand, crooked letters. I remembered the logbook. Sharp, clear, calligraphic handwriting of a maniac. This homeless guy could barely hold a pen. He couldn't know the PA system codes. He couldn't move that fast between the library and the guard post. The police caught the wrong guy. He's still here. Click. The main lighting in the building died. Immediately, with a hum, the emergency lights kicked in, dim red, bathing the corridors in the color of dried blood. The PA system came alive. The voice was calm, authoritative, devoid of emotion. Shift is not over. Unauthorized personnel cannot leave the territory. Activating lockdown protocol. A thunderous crash echoed through the building. Magnetic locks engaging on all exits. Active shooter protection system. We are locked in. At the end of the long red corridor, a figure appeared. He was in uniform, but it wasn't a modern, cheap uniform. It was a perfectly pressed, starched uniform from the 90s with a peaked cap and shiny buttons. He stood unnaturally straight, stretched tight like a wire. In his right hand, he held a long rubber baton. In his left, a bunch of keys that didn't jingle. The creature raised a radio to its tape-wrapped face. From my radio on my belt, my own voice spoke. Intruder in Sector A, proceeding to neutralize. 10-4. He didn't run like people run. He dropped to all fours, never letting go of the baton, and scurried towards me with the unnatural, broken speed of an insect, limbs skittering across the polished floor. I didn't wait to test the door's strength. I grabbed a heavy metal chair and with a wild scream hurled it at the panoramic window behind me. The hurricane-proof glass cracked but didn't shatter. The thing was 10 meters away. I could hear the rustle of fabric against the floor. I struck again and again. The glass showered down in a rain of shards. I jumped out into the winter night, not feeling the sharp edges slicing my hands and face. I ran to my car, slipping on the ice, hearing only silence behind me. No pursuit. He cannot leave the post. I quit over the phone while driving to the hospital. The police did a second sweep, but found no one. They wrote it all off as a nervous breakdown and hallucinations from exhaustion. The homeless guy was jailed for trespassing. Now I work remotely. Texts, translations. No night shifts, no big buildings. But sometimes I order grocery delivery. The boxes are left at my door, and when I pick them up, I notice one detail. The factory tape on the box is always cut, neatly, surgically precise, and then taped back, layer perfectly over layer. And when I bring the boxes into my apartment, I smell a faint, sweet scent of cheap cologne. I know what it means. The patrol zone has been expanded, and now I am the main intruder on his list.